Hey y'all, this is Eric. Danette's behind the camera. Perry Hill Farms. We're today. I got a few meat birds here a while back. I actually got 10, but for whatever reason, I reckon because it was so cold, we lost half of them, lost 5 of them. But anyway, we wound up with 5 that turned out great. I mean, the 2 biggest ones probably weigh between 6 and 7 pounds, and 2 probably around 6, and then maybe 1 about 4 pounds. But anyway, we used our bony pieces at Thanksgiving to make our dressing with. But today we're just finishing up here, and I told my wife I got a new pressure canner, an All-American, I'm very proud of. And they're expensive, but this is a tool that you can put up so much food with. It doesn't require any seals. They're just excellent. And but I wanted to try out our new canner, and like I said, we're raw pack canning some chicken. And you just put a 1/4 teaspoon of salt in your jar, and you put your raw chicken down in the jar. We're going to heat the lids, put the lids on it, put it in the pressure canner, and can it for 70 minutes. We'll come back to y'all in a little bit when we get it done. But you can see I was showing you how I put the last piece in this last jar. We got 7 jars to fill the canner up. And you just put your lids on there, put your bands and rings on there, put them in the canner for 70 minutes. Alright guys, there's a couple other things I wanted to mention too. For whatever reason, when I was coming up and just watching Mama Ken, and I guess a lot of different people always been under the misconception that when you can something, you have to cover the jars. And when you can something, it's the steam that does the canning, not the amount of water you put in there. In fact, I was reading my instructions, reading the thing that came with my new American canner. It says put 2 to 3 inches of hot water in your canner. Then put your jars in there and can them. So I just wanted to show you. Right now, she can look over in here, and I'll kind of shake it around. But you can see that's about, as near as I can tell, there's 1 ring in there. You can see it. Well, there's several rings in there, but you can tell it's about 3 inches. So that's about 3 inches of water. That's all the water that is required for you to can something. And now, I'll show you in just a second when I get all the lids and all on there, how deep it is to the jars. You'll wipe each one of your lids. Canning something, let's just make sure there's nothing on there, or any grease or anything that would prohibit you from getting a good seal. Clean each top.
We've also heard of using vinegar.
Yeah, you can use a little vinegar. That just helps. The purpose of that is that if you get anything that is greasy on it, you just, and we had a magnet somewhere, but I don't know where it's at.
Okay.
And another thing, if your lids are bulbing on you, you may be tightening your ring too tight. That's something else I've learned over in the past, just not so very long ago. But you just want your jars finger tight is all. You don't want to strip down real tight and hard. It's tight. I usually have the worst problem with that for whatever reason on green beans. The lids will and I just about know for sure from watching other people can, watching different videos, and I even went to a research page of what could cause that. And it said over tightening was the #1 cause of your lids to buckle when you can. And usually the seal is still there, but you know, it just looks goofy and it's harder to take off because it's best to take your rings off when the jar is completely cool and all. You can actually take the ring off and kind of lift up on the jar a little bit and check your seal, make sure it's sealed good. But if you leave the ring on it, if you leave your ring on it, it can get some moisture down in there and cause it to rust, and over time, if you don't eat it for say 6 months or whatever, it can cause your seal to give way or compromise your seal. That's the word I was trying to think of. And so the reason, I don't know if a lot of people might not know it, but the reason you pressure can something like meat or tomatoes, or I mean not tomatoes, but the reason you pressure can instead of water bath, like tomatoes you water bath, because it only requires, the boiling point's 212 degrees. And so it only requires you get it that hot to, you know, the acidity and all keeps your tomatoes from ruining. But chicken or anything like this requires a higher heat to preserve it and to keep it from spoiling. And so anyway, lost my train of thought. My jar is floating and I hadn't quite figured out why. I guess it's got too much air in it. Maybe.
It's like you could probably add another piece.
Maybe get another.
Now you only use the leg. Have you got breast in some of them?
Yeah.
Oh, that's big.
I got breast in some of them.
Okay.
Okay. You want to make sure your jar is full, but yeah, sitting down there. But you can see, my wife will show you that they're not submerged under the water, but that's the recommended amount, and it's the steam that will do your canning for you.
Okay. It's our first time using our canner. We're excited. We were so excited about finding it at a good sale, and we purchased it, and our son and his fiance purchased them one because
they actually had them. They had these for $100 off at Lehman's, and many of you probably are familiar with Lehman's, but it's an Amish store up in Ohio. But they had these, like I say, for $100 off, and we still paid, I think it's right at $300 for it. I'm not bragging on it, but I'm very thankful I was able to afford one. And like I say, I'm looking forward to using it. Not sure exactly how tight to tighten these, but make sure they're good and tight.
So you got the heat on, Eric. You gonna let it the pressure get up to what?
Yeah. Well, first thing you do is you want your vent to start blowing steam, and you're supposed to let it blow steam for 10 minutes. And once it blows steam for 10 minutes, then you put your weight on. Let your pressure come up to 10 pounds. Once it comes up to 10 pounds, and I said a while ago, I think I said 70 minutes, but it's 75 minutes. It's an hour and 15 minutes for meat. I think it's all meats, boneless, bony, and all of
It's the raw pack.
The raw pack meat. If you put raw meat in it, and you can do anything like this. You can do hamburger meat like this. You can do chip steak. You can do anything, and even if you want to make a complete meal like a beef stew, where you got stew, potatoes, onions, and carrots in the jar. You just always need to remember, when you mix things up, you just need to can it for whatever's the longest time is. So in that beef stew, it'd be the meat, so it'd still be an hour and 15 minutes. And but you can put raw chip steak, raw carrots, onions, and potatoes in a jar and just can it like this.
Make your own vegetable soup.
And that's right. And when it cools and all, I mean, you can eat it straight out of the jar. It's fully cooked. I was telling you a while ago, when you boil something, you can't get it any hotter than 212 degrees. That's as hot as it'll get. But when you pressure can something, the inside, when you do it with steam, it gets up to around 250 degrees. And that's what kills all your bacteria that's harmful to you and allows you to be able to process the chicken to where it's shelf stable. You can just, when it comes out of here and it cools off and we set it over here or wherever we put it, it will not spoil then. It'll last probably at least 18 months. I would say closer to two and a half years.
We'll also have the broth off that chicken. So as that boils, the meat inside will produce a broth inside the jars.
That's right.
Because your fat will cook down in there, and so even though there's no fluid in it now, when we get done, there will be some broth.
Fluid in it. And you can use this. Man, I've seen it used for everything from some chicken on top of a pizza. You can take it out. It'll be fully cooked. You can make chicken pot pies with it. I like to make, I actually done some rabbit. It's been several months ago. But I'll take my rabbit out and dump it out and cut up some onions, potatoes, and celery and cook that for a little while. Dump my rabbit in there and some wide egg noodles and make rabbit noodle soup. And that's really good. But it does just as good.
Okay, guys, there's a steady stream of steam sound coming from the thing here, and going to put our little weight on there. And let our pressure build up, and we'll watch that gauge as you can already see it's starting to rise some. So I'll let it get up to 10 pounds. And as you can see on that gauge there, 10 pounds of pressure is 240 degrees. And it's got to cook at that for 75 minutes. And so we're going to watch that gauge there. And see, you see it rising slowly. I've only been videoing about a minute and a half, and it's already at 2.5 pounds almost. So when it reaches 10 pounds, I'll drop the temperature down to hold it at that 10 pounds, and once I get that regulated, I'll start the timer. Okay, guys, that only took, probably 5 minutes, if that. It's just about to 10 pounds of pressure. I don't want it to go over, so I'm going to start adjusting the temperature here on the eye in hopes We can keep it at 10. So, I don't want it to cool. Come back up just a little bit. So now will be the time that we'll start our 75 minutes on the timer. Like I said, it's going to be an hour and 15 minutes. We'll let it go at that. We'll watch it. It seems like that adjustment has helped it stay at 10. So we'll leave it there for 75 minutes. And once all the pressure comes down, we'll show you the finished product.
Okay, guys, we're getting ready to take our pot cool slam down. We took our pressure gauge, poundage gauge off, and loosened everything. Oh, it should turn. There we go. We're going to take our canned chicken out. Set it over here and let it cool.
Look how much broth. That's amazing.
Nice. We didn't add any liquid to this. It's all cooked out of the chicken. Boy, it is pretty. Like I said before, you can do most anything with it. Make chicken pot pies, top a pizza, make tacos, homemade chicken noodle soup.
Casseroles
after casseroles after casseroles. Just like I say, it's fully cooked, and so you can even just take it straight out of the jar and eat it. So we put a little salt in each jar, and that's all we put. We didn't put any liquid or anything. I want you to look how much liquid is in that jar. You talking about good and good to you and good for you and the whole 9 yards. And I believe it to be excellent. Got to put a little vinegar in the water, and we're just gonna let those sit there all night long and cool off, and so we can definitely. And you'll see different water levels and all. That doesn't hurt a thing. As long as that top sinks in and it seals, that chicken will be just fine for probably, I would say,
they're in a pot.
Easily 2 years. Of course, we'll probably eat it before then and all, but it definitely can be used to make a lot of different soups and different things. And But anyway, we just wanted to show you a little video on canning chicken. And that way, if the current goes out or something happens, the deep freeze goes out and you don't catch it and you lose all your, or a lot of your stuff, you still got something to eat.
What would you say, Eric, would be your cost in from start to finish, you think, with your raising your chickens, buying your chickens to?
I don't know. It would definitely cost you a little more than, and the reason for that is you can't buy as much commercial feed as commercial chicken raisers buy. The more you buy, the cheaper you get the feed. We just buy it in 50-pound bags and give them scraps. First one thing, then another to eat. But I'd say per chicken, probably at least $6 or $8 per chicken. But like I say, it's homegrown. We know what we got in it. We know how we raised it. And not only that, when I butchered the chickens, you know, I done it very quickly, and I actually done it the biblical way. I bled them out, and which, you know, they say is the best way, and that does a lot, helps your meat, does a lot of different things. But this is just a little bit from Perry Hill Farms. We just want to thank y'all for watching. We appreciate everything that everybody does for us, and please like and subscribe. And the best thing you can do is share our videos. And just remember, I always like to say, you know, got off a little early this evening and just spent a little time canning some chicken. And just simple things. A simple life is a much more enjoyable life. Thank you from Perry Hill Farm.